Hey guys, I'm back with another update on the simulator. I made a post today covering some smaller stuff. I'm also going to cover that in the video, but that's going to be towards the end. I have some other things that I want to show you that screenshots are just not going to do it justice. I have to actually show you. And your feedback is going to be very important here because I want to make sure that, what I'm doing with the actual dueling aspect is intuitive. And so if you guys have any suggestions, any idea on how I can improve it or whatever, feel free to leave a comment down below. So yeah, let's say, for example, we're in the simulator here, the duel started, and you want to summon a card. Let's say you want to summon Sinister Serpent for whatever reason. So of course you can drag it onto the field. Now, if you notice, the hand basically dynamically adjusts. In my previous videos, the cards in the hand, they were kind of just static. And if you move a card from your hand onto the field, then it left an empty space. So of course, keeping in mind that, you're going to do a lot of stuff with the cards in your hand. You're going to be drawing cards, you're going to be discarding cards, adding cards from the field back to your hand, shuffling your hand, etc. Of course, it has to be dynamic. So I sort of implemented that. That's just very early on, very basic implementation of that. The next thing that I wanted to show were the actions for, moving cards on the field. So as I've shown in previous videos as well, if a card is already on the field, of course, you can drag it from one slot to another. This is very nice, especially if, you're playing creature swap or something and you have to swap and I haven't implemented that yet, by the way, moving your card from your field onto the opponent's field, but just simply dragging and dropping cards from one slot to another, I think is very intuitive, and yeah, it's very simple. So when it comes to dragging cards, this shows how you can move them around, but when it comes to like playing with the cards and everything, you're not just going to be dragging and moving cards around. There are other functions: flipping monsters, setting monsters, changing battle positions, etc., declaring effects. So trying to figure out a system where all of that is going to be easy and intuitive. I thought to myself, I want to minimize just having menus as much as possible, because in Dueling Book, you got to hover over the card and then you have a million different buttons for setting it, for flipping it, flip summoning it, changing its battle position, and everything. And attacking, you even have for attacking, declaring effects and whatnot. So I thought to myself, if the monster is already on the field, we could just add buttons that are above the card itself. So for example, this one, with the arrow here, it indicates that if you click on it, you can switch its battle position from attack to defense, and then it changes color to denote that, it's going from defense. When you click it, it goes to attack. So you can really, seamlessly just change the battle position of your monsters. So you could just, go like this, and yeah, it's pretty quick and easy. And if you want to set a monster, I added a different button for that, and you can set the monster, and it doesn't have to be in defense position. It can be in attack. You can also set it like so as well. So this is very simple. If your opponent summons Tsukuyomi, you just press this button and it gets set. And if you want to flip it, you just press it again. Now, basically, if you just keep pressing this button, it goes between flipping it face up and face down, but it doesn't flip summon it. So that's something that I was wondering, because essentially, if you want to, let's say you have a set Dekoichi or something, and you set it on the field like this, you're going to have to first flip it face up, and then you're going to have to manually change its battle position to flip summon it. I don't think that's very intuitive, so I'm going to come up with something regarding that. Basically, options between flipping a monster and flip summoning a monster. But yeah, if you guys have any ideas, that would be good. And in addition to that, if you want to select the monster, you could just simply click on it once and it selects it. And the idea behind this is basically just how I implemented keyboard shortcuts and keyboard navigation in the deck builder. I kind of want to have the same thing for the actual, simulator itself. So I want this simulator to basically be usable just either solely with a mouse or solely with a keyboard, essentially. And yeah, so that's why I'm adding all these like just click actions and everything. And the idea is to basically have keyboard shortcuts for the very same thing, which I think is going to be even more intuitive, because let's say you click on Thunder Dragon. If you want to set it, you could just press the button like S or something and it's going to set it. And then if you want to flip it, you click F, etc. And with the arrow keys, the idea is to be able to navigate through all the cards and everything. So, but I have yet to implement the keyboard shortcuts because I'm trying to figure out first the mouse aspect. And of course, yeah, you could just drag cards to the graveyard, remove from play zone. And if you activate spells, you could just do this. And if you want to set a trap card, for example, it just sets automatically. So yeah, and you can drag it. So that's a nice thing, is that you don't have to do anything extra. When it comes to setting spells, so let's just put that back in the hand. Okay, for some reason it, yeah, that's some sort of a bug. But basically the idea is that you can also drag cards. Okay, yeah, this was working. This was actually working. Let's see. Let's try it with a monster card. Yeah, okay. Basically I had this working where you could, if there's a card from the field or the graveyard or whatever, you could just add it back to the hand, but I'll have to see what's going on with that. But basically what Alan did in his simulator was, if you have a card in your hand, you could just click on it once and you can set it. And so then you could, if you want to set a spell card like Scapegoat, for example, okay, that bug's getting annoying. So if you want to set Scapegoat, for example, you click on it once in your hand, it sets it, and then when you drag it to the field, it sets it like that as well. So that's definitely something that I've considered as well. But of course, kind of the same logic as with monsters, with being able to change their battle positions and setting them and flipping them. For spells and traps, you basically just have a single button for that, and this way you can set and activate cards. And yeah, and when you send, well, it should be for the remove from play zone as well, but when you send them to the graveyard, the idea is for them, even if they're set, to be automatically flipped face up when they go to the graveyard. But yeah, clearly some bugs here that I need to sort out. Oh, and I almost forgot, if you want to declare an effect, so like I pointed out, if you click on it once, it selects it. But if you click on it twice, there's like the small animation. It's very cheap looking. It's very bad. Obviously, I would make it look a lot better in the final product, but yeah, that's kind of the idea, is if you want to declare an effect, you just double tap on the card really quick. Shouldn't be able to do so with set cards, but yeah, that's something to fix. So yeah, that's basically that when it comes to the dueling aspect, and then some updates that I provided in my post. Basically, before, for these cards, when you reach a card's limit, like having the limit of copies in the deck, this status indicator here was grayed out as well. I fixed that so that it's no longer grayed out. But another thing that I had was, I don't know if you can see that, but on the mouse pointer, there's like this band icon or whatever you want to call it, indicating, of course, that you can't move it, you can't drag it, unlike the other cards. But of course, if you look to the left, you can still see previews of the cards themselves. So for example, I added Dark Hole, and obviously this card is banned. You can't actually put it in a deck. It doesn't allow you to use it in the deck to begin with. That's how this basically ensures that no matter what you're doing with your deck, as long as you have at least 40 cards in the deck, in the main deck, the deck's going to be legal and you'll be able to save it. So if I take out a card, it's going to say main deck must contain 40 to 60 cards. And of course, let's just add back Mirror Force and try saving it. It allows you to save it. But, you know, now with that being grayed out, I can't add more copies of this card. And if I try the, duplicating it, it's not letting me do that either. So yeah, like I mentioned, basically no matter what you do, the deck that you build is going to be legal for play. But yeah, the nice thing is if you do still want to look at banned cards, and who knows, maybe I might add some sort of functionality for like modified GOAT where you can play with quote unquote banned cards, that's why I want to have these cards to begin with. So Dark Hole was technically part of the card pool for GOAT format, even though it was banned. But it is still nice to be able to at least look at it and to read its effect and whatnot, and to see that it exists. So I think that just because a card is banned or it's reached its limit, that doesn't mean you should disable also the card preview. And yeah, I noticed that was a mistake, so I fixed that. And speaking of, the card preview and everything, I basically added, instead of just the effect, I added the name, what type of card it is, if it's a trap card, spell card, monster. And yeah, it shows if it's a normal spell, equip spell, quick play spell, etc. And then for monsters, you've got the name. It displays how many stars. Initially, I tried doing it with just like adding the stars, so there were 8 different stars here, but I thought that just takes up too much space. I'd rather just indicate with a number. I think that's much quicker, because sometimes, like you might see a card having a lot of stars. You might wonder, is that level 7 or level 8? But if you just glance over here to the bottom, it's going to be much simpler to see it without having to count. I'm going to fix the spacing here. I don't think it looks very good, but yeah. It shows the attribute, the type, if it's an effect. And another thing, I think this is also pretty cool, is it indicates which cards are flip cards. So there's a surprising amount of players that get confused by this, especially with Nobleman. An example of this would be like, let's say Golem Sentry or Nightmare Penguin. Those cards, they technically have flip effects, but they're not considered flip monsters. So under those cards, I don't have them added to show as an example, but those cards are just considered effect monsters. So it would say effect here. But for cards that are actual flip cards, such as the Koichi and Magician of Faith and Spy, it's going to say flip. So that's going to kind of help clear confusion, at least, for more beginner level players. When working with Nobleman of Crossout, it's going to help clear some confusion in that regard. And of course, it shows the attack and defense stats at the bottom. So that was that. Another thing was, so right now I'm navigating with the arrow keys, and basically if I wanted, let's say I was right here where Tribe Infecting Virus is. If I wanted to go to Scapegoat, I would have to go up, and then I would have to go right all the way to the Scapegoat. But now with, just the left and right arrow keys, it's basically like a list that's in the form of a grid. So from the very first card, you could just, if I just hold the right arrow key, I could scan it basically to the very last card. And I think when it comes to navigation, this is just, it's a lot more intuitive, obviously. Another thing that was kind of a bug was, right now I'm pressing the right arrow key and nothing's happening. And if I'm pressing the down arrow key right now, also nothing's happening. Basically, the idea was that when I did this before, it would just deselect the card and it would go to like an empty slot. But I was trying to, just test around, like if I was actually using the simulator and actually deck building, I wanted to see how it was going to work. And I realized that that's pretty annoying for it to do that. So yeah, I decided to fix it so that it's basically locked in. If you want to deselect the card, you could just click on it or just press a key on your keyboard. And the last thing that I did was, this is very minor, but basically I added a small tooltip here that you could just hover over, because that's another thing. I think I explained this in one of my first videos. The only reason why there's a fusion deck here with 15 card slots, it's basically just as a display, more so than anything. This is so that you could just look at the most used fusion cards, I guess, and read their effects. And, you know, when you're just brainstorming for deck ideas, I guess. But basically, when you actually load up a deck, even if you don't have a single fusion card here, so let's say this is empty. Even if you load up this deck into a match, it's just automatically going to load up the same exact fusion deck for both players, no matter what. So even if you don't add any cards here, even if you do add cards, it's not going to make a difference. You're going to have 3 copies of every single fusion card when you enter a game. And I wanted to kind of clarify that with the tooltip, you know, just explaining that it allows for 3 copies of every fusion card in the card pool. So yeah, but I'm going to work more on the actual dueling aspect. I think the deck builder is pretty close to complete. Really, I just have to sort out some minor issues, some minor bugs. Of course, I have to implement the rulings button. I have to kind of improve the bookmarks page, implement the trunk. But yeah, just some minor things, but it's pretty much almost complete. And then, yeah, when it comes to the actual dueling aspect, that I'm actually making some decent progress there as well. I just have to implement some more functionality, sort out some bugs like you saw earlier, and polish things up. And once that's done, and once the deck builder is done, I'm just gonna kind of polish up the lobby and the ranked. I mean, ranked is pretty much, you know, it's very similar to what I already have here in the main lobby anyway. So that's not gonna really take much time to implement, honestly. But yeah. All right, so I don't want to make this video too long, so that's going to be it for me. And yeah, I'll be back with another update hopefully soon. Thanks for watching.